Hey there everyone, my name's Meg and this is Lily, and I'm delivering to you guys a little bit of a different video today, and this is to help with healing any hip injuries or knee mobility, or even just to strengthen the glute medius. The hip and the foot are so connected, and in the Western world that we live in these days, we are constantly putting our feet in shoes. And secondly, we're also sitting down constantly. We're training our hip flexors and our hip joint to be and act like a hinge joint, when in essence, it's actually a ball and socket joint. It's meant to move around the joint. So ever since we have been in kindergarten in this Western world, we've actually sat, in chairs and training, as I said, our hip joint to act differently to what it actually can do. And of course, the wearing of shoes, even sneakers, are still making us walk on as such a ramp. And that was never the intention for our feet. Our feet are really robust. We have 4 layers of muscle on the underside of our feet, 33 joints and 27 bones in our feet alone. And with the wearing of shoes, what actually happens over time is that the 4 layers of muscle that are on the underside of the foot, they start to become really, really weak, because we put them in shoes and the toes start to squish in. We don't actually use those muscles like we should be. Back in the day, they were used to gripping on rocks and in nature, and we used all the toes and things like that as well. And our feet have just become almost accustomed to the shape of a shoe. And if you look at any shoe, you'll notice that the toes are generally pointed, unless you obviously go for vibrance or barefoot and stuff like that as well. But you really will notice that our feet have actually, for many of us, started to shape as per what the Western shoe model actually does. So those 2 combinations of sitting down, whether that be in a chair, whether that be in a lounge chair, for what you do for work, or any time where you're constantly sitting. Sitting's not a bad thing, but when we do it so often, what is actually happening in the combination of not using those muscles in our feet and not paying attention to how we walk, means that this muscle here on the side of our glutes, the glute medius, starts to become very, very weak, right? So it really is quite simple. I encourage you the next time that you're in a shopping centre or you're around a lot of people, which could be interesting with COVID, but you know what I mean. I encourage you to actually look down at how a lot of people walk, and you'll notice that a lot of people are walking medially. So they're slightly rotating inwards on that inner arch, and the arches are collapsing for a lot of people. So you will notice that, of course, you'll go to podiatrists, and they'll give you inner soles or supports for the feet, but it's not actually fixing the problem. It's providing a band-aid solution for something that we can actually fix ourselves. So this video is designed and inspired by my mum, who just had recent hip surgery on her other hip, but just noticing today, just watching her left foot really rotate inwards here, and she's having quite a fair bit of pain into the hip joint, and there's that connection, and it's the foot and the hip, and it's something that I'm so passionate about and have been studying and working with the last couple of years, because I believe in my sort of studies and my own practice that really finding this area of the foot, which a lot of teachers before me, of course, have taught this as the tripod of the foot, or this balance point that we find in our foot. And it's such a critical and easy thing to understand. And when you understand where this part in your foot is, you'll find that the rest of the body will then sit in alignment. But you're going to have to unlearn what we have learned over the years of conditioning of working in shoes and how you actually walk if you're getting that medial rotation, to then slowly learn how to activate this tripod of the foot so that your knees and your hips will then be in line with your feet, which means that you'll be standing taller, you'll be working, strengthening through the glute medius, of course. And when you strengthen things, so such as the glute medius, it is a muscle. So if you start to tighten the muscle, what's actually going to happen is, because the muscle is here, it's going to tighten. That's obviously going to open the hip joint, creating hip torque, which means that your hips will be much more open. The knees will track exactly as they're meant to over the feet, rather than this medial rotation again, which happens a lot from sitting and wearing shoes, and then that causes an internal rotation into the hip joint where we're going to experience a lot of pain, not just in our hips, but also into our lower back. So this is where this video stems from. And as many of you know, as I said, I'm super passionate about teaching this because it really can help. And it's simply understanding this place in the foot. So for anybody who has had any hip surgery, please hold on to something for this first exercise. I'm going to go through about 5 different exercises specifically for the foot that are going to have effect on strengthening that glute med and also balance. And then we're going to work into creating what my teachers call juicing or oiling the body through the hip and the sacral area, which will have a response into also the lumbar spine. So if you do suffer any back pain, these moves are really, really helpful for that as well. But the key to this for it working is time. Consistency is key. So all I ask for you is 10 minutes of your time every day for 4 to 6 weeks to see if this makes a difference at all in the way that you walk, the way that your hips track, and the way that you actually move, and notice if you find any more space into that hip and sacral area. So the first part is talking about and getting you to understand where the tripod of the foot is. So say if I'm standing on my right foot, I think this will be opposite, being a video, I'm putting 60% into the heel of my foot and 40% into the balls of my foot. It creates a triangular shape. We call that the tripod of the foot. There's no weight into the toes when we're, for the moment while we're learning how to do this. And I want you to hold on to a wall or a chair, especially if you had any hip surgery or you're going through any knee reconstruction or whatever it might be and you're actually in a state of recovery. It's really important that you crawl before you walk. We're very much in a world where everything is just like, oh, what's the quickest way to do this? How can I push and strive? And I should be way more further ahead than I should be. Let's learn to be totally okay and accepting of exactly where we are right in this moment. And then that's when things will start to change. So bend your right knee softly so that you have a soft bent knee. So we're not going into a squat, it's just unlocked. And all you're going to do is float that left foot off the ground. And we want to try and keep the hips square. So it can be really nice to work with a partner with this one as well. So get them to have a look what's going on with your hips. If you're leaning into that side, we want to really try and keep those 2 hip bones as square as possible. And just sort of bouncing on this space of the tripod of the right foot. What you will feel, soften the shoulders, let the body be quite soft. Over time, maybe you'll be able to take your hand off for like 5 or 10 seconds. But again, we want to have a little bit of wobbling here so that we're also working into the stabilizer muscles. So 30 seconds to start, 20 or 30 seconds, no more than that, especially if you've just come out of surgery. So coming out of that one and then just giving your feet a little bit of a shake out, and your hips, just whatever feels nice here. And then let's move to the other side. So tripod of the left foot, 60% into the heel, 40% into the 2 balls of the foot. Use the support that you've got, soften the left knee and see what's going on with your hips here. Again, if I'm holding on too much, they're going to want to tip, right? You're going to want to put the weight into that left leg, that right hip's going to lift. So you see if you can keep your hips square and just keeping that foot just off the ground slightly here. So really stabilizing into that glute medius muscle. So again, try not to grip on with your toes just while we're doing this exercise. Keep everything else as loose as possible. And then just notice what it feels like here. And a great thing to practice while you're here is your breath. So when we breathe, it just brings us back to this moment. So it might be really nice to practice breathing in for the count of 4. And breathing out for the count of 4. Well done. Coming down, give that a little bit of a shake. You might give your hips a little bit of a wiggle here. Just do what feels good. The next one, what we're going to do is a little foot massage for the ball of our feet. We're going to spread open the toes. I'm going to come forward a little bit just to here. And what we're actually doing here is slow circles here. So if you look down at your knee and you imagine your knee was stirring a pot, that's pretty much what's going on here. But as I'm rolling around the ball of my right foot, creating movement through the ankle joint, through the Achilles, and I'm also spreading my toes. So giving them a little bit of space from being in shoes. And I'm going super slow here. So I'm trying to iron out any bits that are clunky. So what's actually happening here into the hip joint, there's a really nice circular motion that's going on here into the right hip. And you just go to your degree with this. It's not about going super big. It's definitely not about that. All we're trying to do here is create a little bit of movement. Let's slowly take it back the other way. So circling the same leg, right, from the ball of the foot into the toes. As you bring that foot around, sort of press the heel down, get into the Achilles. And then, of course, this hip joint is now coming in for an internal rotation. Really nice. So use your support, give the leg a bit of a shake out, maybe shake the other one, and then let's do the other side. So this video, of course, is in real time, really slow, so that you guys can follow along in real time as well. The amount of times you do this is up to you. If you are just coming out of surgery, like my mum is, it's been a couple of weeks for her. Just start once through for a week and then maybe start to do it twice. I'll put the details in the caption below. It is 100% about not overdoing, but this stuff you can do every day. It is really slow, really gentle. Our bodies are designed to move. They are not designed to be still and stagnant. Rest is perfect. We need to rest. We need a balance of movement and, of course, nurturing ourselves, giving back. Change directions with that foot. Again, we want to massage the ball of the foot. If you look down at your knee, it's like it's kind of stirring a pot and you're feeling the left hip joint just move and create space. And then try to soften. It's really easy to tighten any other areas. I want you to really keep the body nice and soft. And again, in time, you can then let that other hand go. But if you're just coming out of surgery, just take your time. Beautiful. Give that a shake, give it a little squeeze, work with what works for you here. Bring your feet nice and solid onto the ground. We're now going to create some movement through the hip. So what we're working with here is we want to get our hip bones moving, right? So with this one, I like to place my hands onto my hips. And then what we're looking for here is this really, really slow, just around the joint. So there's this movement to the right. We then tuck pelvic tilt. So we're going for a posterior tilt, over to the left, and then an anterior tilt. So it's this kind of almost like you're working with a hula hoop in that kind of sense. So just this really, so it's definitely not working through here yet. That's definitely sort of where we're going. But for the recovery process, just sort of feel this into the hips, is really, really slow movement and let it feel good. And then when you've got that, I want you to drop your arms down and you might even just close your eyes. But I also want you to focus here on what the feet are doing. So I want you to concentrate on that tripod of the foot so that you have a really nice solid connection with the ground. And the more you practice coming into that tripod of the foot, the more that you're going to get those knees tracking over the ankles and of course creating hip torque, strengthening the glute med muscle, which is going to eventually start to open the hips and help you move and be in alignment just by changing that position of your foot. Let's change direction, and when we change direction, go really slow. So I love to start with my hands on my hips because I can really feel the movement through my sacral area, through the pelvis. And this is one of the best things that I have found has helped me so much with any low back pain. I don't get low back pain very often these days. In fact, I haven't had it for over, a year and a half. And I do this nearly every day, every morning, just little movements like this, super slow, just to get everything moving around a joint where a lot of time, a lot of things can get stuck here. Emotions, tensions, and stress, they hold in our shoulders and they hold in our hips. Beautiful. Slowly come out of that one. Really nice. And the last one for our hips, we're still working into this area. We're just going to play with an anterior tilt and a pelvic tilt. So when we're working into this one, again, those feet are sort of similar position. We want to come into that pelvic tilt and then tuck under for your anterior tilt. So we're moving through posterior and then anterior. So it's just this slight tuck of the tailbone. So it's just here and here. So it's really kind of small movement. Again, hands on hips are a great way to play with this. First, you can actually feel what the pelvis is doing. So I really encourage when you start with this one, go really, really little, go super slow, and notice what you can feel. So about a minute, right, onto each of these. We'll go for about another 20 seconds. Slowing it right down. Notice what you can feel. You play with even like a little bit of a roll here through the pelvis if that feels okay. And then release. Do whatever you need to do here. The last one in this little series is some free movement. So the feet come a little bit wider. And we're just going to start just by letting the torso and the hands and the shoulders just move. And you might simply just stay with this. Now, animals shake. All animals shake when they're under stress or tension or they're faced in that fight or flight response. We as humans don't tend to do that. So it's a really, really good thing to actually move your body. This is super fun, but I'm going to allow a little bit more free movement today. Just to get your body moving, whichever directions feel good for you. So ground down the feet and just allow the body to move in any direction that feels good. My teachers speak on fluidity and suppleness a lot. And I can't begin to express how powerful the practice of suppleness and letting go has been for my body, for my spine, but also for my mind mentally. It moves us out of this rigid state that we can get in, doing the same thing over and over, and the bodies just get stuck and we hold that in our bodies. So this feels amazing, just rippling and rolling. You are going to look completely different to what I'm doing, and that is perfect. We are never here to look like anybody else. You are here to look like you. And you are here right in this moment. It does not matter what has been. You are here now working on your body to improve it from this moment forward. And that is such a beautiful thing. So well done you. So always slowly come out of this, and you might want to just finish off with a little bit of a shake. Again, the shake is completely up to you here. And I personally love to do a little bit of impact onto the body, so making some gentle fists and just connecting with the body, right? A great way to actually get lymph moving through the body as well. So any lymphedema or anything like that, it just needs a little bit of movement, a little bit of, you hear of lymphatic massage, sort of similar kind of thing. So just stirring up right through the whole body here. It actually really feels really, really good. So you might even come into the side of the neck, the top of the chest. But it's a great way to wake up in the morning, finding any areas that are tight or stuck, getting into the glutes, even into the back and the kidneys. It's a really nice one. Our kidneys are so important to look after. So it's always nice to finish on that. Shake out your hands. And that's my little routine for you guys. That might be moving through, as I said, any hip surgery or knee surgery, or really struggle with an internal and medial rotation in their foot, and you've had like orthotics for most of your life, or you're starting to get knee pain and it's not from trauma. A lot of the time it stems from your foot. So if you're experiencing back pain or hip pain or anything to do with the knees, then it's really important to have a look what's going on with the foot and how you're actually standing and walking, and are you using your feet the way that they're meant to as well. So get out of shoes as often as you can. We were never designed to wear shoes. And be on your bed, be on your feet. They are robust. They are meant to move and to tackle a lot of things. They're very, very strong. But as I said, we want to keep that the 4 layers of muscle active and strong on the underside of our feet for as long as we can, so that they can support us, because when we pop them in shoes and we don't use the foot as we're meant to, the foot's compressed. You imagine putting your hand in a shoe. What's going to happen? It's just going to clog up, and it's going to become really weak, and that's what happens to the muscles on the underside of the foot. So what actually happens from there is the fascia and the connective tissue, they start to take over the job of the muscles of the foot, and they of course can't handle it. So what happens is we end up with things like Achilles injuries, plantar fasciitis, really tight hamstrings, and all of that is going to pull onto the spine and the hips, causing issues upstream. So take a moment to look after your body. That little routine, I totally recommend doing that every day. But if you are just coming out of surgery, maybe just doing that once for a week and then seeing if you would like to go through that twice. But it's not about spending heaps of time, 10 minutes maximum. And we all have that. And most of us spend over 3 hours on our phones every day. And it is up to you. No one else is going to do it for you. Yes, it's going to take work, and it's hard because we've developed patterns and addictions and ways of beings that have got us to this moment. So you are a product of your choices and actions up until this moment right now. And sometimes those words can be really harsh and they can be pretty confronting, but it is the truth. And the thing is, if we just accept where we are at right now and just go, you know what, it is what it is, then we then have an opportunity to open space. We remain open. We say, you know what, I'm now doing this for me. I'm going to do the best for my body in this moment, and my body is healing my body as well. So it is up to us what we do from this very moment forward. Thanks everyone. I'd love to know your thoughts on this video, and please share with anybody that you think fit for this, that could benefit just from learning about that foot. As I said, these are not my teachings. These are from all my teachers, especially the guys from the Foot Collective. They have some excellent information on the foot and of course the foot-hip connection and how we can really function better just by understanding, the functionality of our feet and what they are actually designed to do. So thanks everyone. I really appreciate it if you could actually like the video and also subscribe, because if you subscribe, eventually it helps me to help you by downloading more videos, to actually get financed and paid by YouTube. As I said, I'm writing a book at the moment, so I'm like all the help I can get, and it just takes you to click of a button and subscribe. So I'd really appreciate that. So keep an eye out for more yoga videos, for more yin and mobility that'll be coming your way every Wednesday, uploading new ones. Namaste. Thanks so much, everyone.